I wanted to say warm welcome to our hybrid panel No? Sorry. But it's good for me to try. Yes. Sorry. Good afternoon, and I repeat myself, I want to say warm welcome to our hybrid panel discussion, She Shapes Science, Women in STEM in Austria and Japan. But I guess here in Osaka, I hope we have a cool afternoon in the beautiful women's pavilion, which is not only a pleasure to see, to experience, to feel, but as well, I guess we like the air conditioning here. My name is Christina Schösser. I'm Commercial Counselor at the Austrian Embassy in Tokyo, head of Advantage Austria, and I'm pleased and happy to moderate this event today. I'm not from the STEM field, so I don't know anything about science, technology. I'm a boring business person, but the topic encouraging women, girls, ladies to do whatever they want in their professional and private life and support them in any way has always been very close to my heart. As time is limited, I will already pass on to the next step, to the next program. And this, I'm very happy we have two welcome messages, greetings from Austria. Obviously, they have been videotaped beforehand. And the first one is, I'm happy that the Commissioner for the General Expo of Austria, Miss Ursula Plasnik, will send you a greeting, and she was the driving force behind this, that we have an Austrian-Japanese event at the Women's Pavilion. I have to give you a piece of history. The first Women's Pavilion actually was at that time World Exhibition in Vienna, where Japan participated. So that's something that's close, I think, to our nations in Austria and Japan. So may I ask you for the video?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you today to the Women's Pavilion at the Expo 2025 in Osaka. My name is Ursula Plasnik. I'm a former foreign minister of Austria, and I'm speaking to you from Vienna. I have a single message today, and that is to encourage the girls and women who are active in the fields of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and related areas. It is on your dedication, on your commitment, on your results that our future depends. All the best from Vienna.
Short and crisp, and that's how we try to keep this entire event. That's good. The second message, I have to warn you, will be a bit longer. It's from Ms. Marta Schulz. She's the Vice President of the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber. How come whenever Austria takes part in an expo, there are two organizations behind it, co-financed, co-organizing it. It's on the one hand the Austrian Ministry of Economy, Energy and Tourism and the Austrian Chamber of Commerce. And she's as well the president of an organization called Women in Business. That's a business organization supporting women to set up either their own company or be more vocal in the business field.
Dear participants, it's a real honor for me to be part of this inspiring exchange between Austria and Japan under the theme She Shapes Science, Women in STEM in Austria and Japan. Even it's only through a video message. I most certainly would have loved to be there in person. Today's event at Osaka Expo 25 is a valuable opportunity to reflect on the current circumstances women faces in the workplace and explore the future of women in STEM in Austria and Japan. I would thus like to take the time and thank the Women's Pavilion for hosting and the Federal Ministry for Economy, Energy and Tourism, as well as my dedicated colleagues on site for making this important discussion possible. Let me briefly highlight some key facts regarding women in the field of businesses in Austria. In Austria right now, nearly every third business is led by women. More than 150,000 businesswomen are actively promoting the business location Austria. What's more, in 24 alone, we saw a record number of female lead company startups. 53 new women entrepreneurs every day. These are not just statistics. They are rather a testament to the growing force of women-driven innovation and leadership in our economy. Through Women in Business, we are more than a network. We are a movement. We support almost 150,000 women businesses leading with a big service portfolio, and we are actively influenced for better frameworks. We know why women start businesses: flexibility, the desire to be their own boss, increased income, and the wish for responsibility. These are the motivation that fuel how business is done in Austria. And it's not just about business. We are committed to future talent, in vocational training, the share of women in technically oriented apprenticeships, such as coding and IT, has grown a lot. That's how we built a pipeline of tomorrow's innovators. With our support, we combine resilience with empowerment. We foster sustainability, financial confidence, and inclusive opportunity. Austria's businesswomen are shaping the future. Together with our friends and partners in Japan, we can make that future even more innovative and full of promise. I wish you all exciting discussions and very meaningful connections. All the best from Austria.
So I forgot to mention something. This event is recorded, will be recorded. So probably if you have a panel discussion afterwards and questions to the audience, please be aware this hybrid webinar is recorded and will be made available after this event to everyone interested. So, and now I have the great honor and pleasure to present our first expert speaker, keynote speaker here on the ground. When I reached out to Kiko Shimizu, I did not hope that she would follow our invitation. She served as assistant governor of the Bank of Japan. She was the first woman in that position. Now she's a member of the board of Toyota Industries. She founded her own company. She's CEO of AMCO, and she's a very outspoken voice and supporter of female empowerment in general, and as well for girls and women in STEM. We are very honored to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Tokiko Shimizu. It's a great honor for me to come here, and first of all, thank the Austrian friends to have me today here. So this is a very distinguished event because I myself heavily involved in the activities to enhance the number of the female engineers in Japan. So this is a very hard challenge for us, but it is necessary for the Japan's future, I believe. So today I'd like to share two stories. One is from my experiences in the Bank of Japan as an assistant governor. The second story is coming from what I'm now thinking after stepping down from the assistant governor. So this is my favorite illustration. So based on my experiences attending the almost more than 100 international meetings as the assistant governor of the Bank of Japan, I learned many things. There are the common understanding by those communities, that is, our planet Earth is facing the very series of serious challenges, including war, pandemics, and climate change, as well as the AI evolution. So those very serious series of challenges, but we don't have enough tools to address to those challenges. And also I learned that there are no good groups which are already existing, like G7 or G20. I myself attended those meetings, but I don't think they are functioning well now. So that means we need to build up the new ecosystem to address to those series of challenges. And when I developed those new ecosystems, we probably utilize the two tools. One is the technology. The other is the human capital. So these two factors only the keys to address effectively to those series of challenges. Let me introduce my close friends over the world. So this is the 2023 G7 meetings at Niigata. At that time, Japan was the chair country. So I myself attending the meeting with the Governor Ueda. And those are the other G7 countries' governors, including Christine Lagarde. Madame Lagarde is one of my very close friends, and she's always supporting my activities. Even now, after stepping down from the Bank of Japan, she's strongly supporting my new activities. And also, these are the very close friends of mine. And Federal Reserve Vice President and the ECB and the Bundesbank, the BIS and Bank of Korea. So it shows whenever I attended the international meetings, more than half of the participants were females. So I myself is almost immune from jet lag. I don't care. But always I barely suffered by the gap between the color of meetings. That means very colorful international meetings, but when I come back to Japan, it is almost black. Only myself is like white and pink or sometimes. But all the other participants, almost men in black. So that kind of color gap, I'm always suffered seriously. So that is one of my motivation to make some action. And also I learned there are two factors that we need to enforce. That's two factors that means human capital and capacity for producing or manufacturing high services and goods by ourselves. So Japan has those two forces or sources to keep our growth sustainable. So that means we need to make some leverage on these two factors, because whenever I made a speech at the meetings about those things, every participants strongly keep their interest in those factors, stories. But when I talked about financial conditions in Japan, no one paid attention to that kind of issues. I'm very sorry about that. But these two issues are very interested by those peoples. Then, this is the second story. I started a new business, MECO, Human Empowerment Ecosystem. This is the company's name I started. It is very rare who, like assistant governor of the Bank of Japan, after stepping down from the bank, starting some new business. It is probably the first case in the history, but I came to think, as I said, there are serious gap between Japan and abroad, and between female and men. And also there are good factors or capacities here. So why not we utilize those capacities? So there are some evidence that we have the potential. First evidence is, around 15 years old, the Japan's girls and boys show the top literacy in the world based on the OECD research. But unfortunately, the ratio of the women in universities who major STEM area is less than 10%, around 7%. It is the lowest across the countries of OECD. So why those gaps are existing? So there is a survey. The answer was because they are not confident enough to choose the STEM area for their majors or job. So this is a matter of confidence, not the capacity or not the financial ability. So this is the problem. So we need to make them more confident to choose the STEM area as their major or job in the future. So then, I'd like to touch upon some serious challenges in this area. The first one is unconscious bias. I myself have engineering background. I majored in the university engineering, urban engineering. At that time, the ratio of female was 1%. My university. Nowadays, it's around 10%. So for 40 years, it becomes 10 times. Wow, great, but still 10%. So, but I would like to mention that not only men, but women themselves have a very serious unconscious bias. So we need to pay attention to those both women and men's unconscious bias. And also, because I just coming back from the San Francisco last week, many of my friends in the United States nowadays came to feel some uneasiness to talk about diversity kind of things. Because they think that diversity is ideology, but I don't think so. The diversity itself is a prerequisite, keep a system changing. As our human being, metabolism function is necessary to keep our lives continuous. So the diversity is something very necessary for pragmatic reasons, not ideology, I would say. And the final challenge is how can we make majority less powerful? It is a very crucial point, especially in Japan. Majority themselves don't think there are some obstacles for changing the system. But we need to make them understanding what happens, what they cause. But it is a very difficult challenge, and I myself feel that in abroad, some majority shows very strong resistance for the diversity. So we need to pay attention to those three challenges in the future. So then finally, I'd like to introduce our business. So sorry for it's only Japanese, but we held the event August 2nd in Nagoya University, Engineers Meet Girls. The 50 female engineers got together, and almost 100 girls, primary schools and junior high schools, got together to experience some manufacturing and engineering, making, playing or programming the car, and making some bath bubbles. So those kind of events I'd like to continue in Japan because there are very huge possibility for them, for girls, to make their future more bright. So I would like to ask you to support those kind of activities in Japan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tokiko. As I said, I'm not from a science field, but I've been to Japan now for exactly 2 years. And you spoke something of my heart, because living in Tokyo, it's an amazing city. I love the country, it's beautiful. But when I go on the street, I sometimes want to say, please drop a color bomb on this country or on this place I'm living. Whoever sees me more often, I will always wear colorful things. And I have the feeling, since moving to Japan, it's an inner thing. When I open my cupboard, I always take something very colorful. So that's not part of this topic, but what you mentioned above all about girls in STEM, in education, and why don't they probably trust themselves or dropout rates, that's a topic our next expert speaker will be talking about. She will join us online. It's Professor Sabine Seidler. She's one of Austria's leading academics and material scientists. She's a full professor at the Technical University in Vienna, and she was the first female dean rector of this Austrian university, of this technical university. In her career, it has been marked by research, international cooperation, and higher education policy. I could go on with a list of all the achievements and the numerous honors she received. Today I want to point out something. She's as well the official STEM or STEAM representative of the city of Vienna. I think it's the only city and province in Austria, because Vienna is a province in Austria, who has a representative for that field in order to get more girls, women into this field, education and job. And she will share some of her insights with us. And we hand over now the screen to Professor Sabine Seidler in Vienna.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning from Vienna. Good afternoon to Osaka. It's a great honor for me to be part of this important event. So I have to share my screen. Just a moment, please. Similar challenges, and we have heard this, I think, in this very impressive talk by Tokiko Shimatsu. This makes it all the more important to engage in dialogue and learn from each other. When we address the challenges faced by women in STEM professions in the labor market in Austria, we have to start much earlier, because a significant proportion of these challenges result from the underrepresentation of women in the relevant jobs. We have heard it's the same situation as in Japan. In addition, there is a continuous dropout rate in engineering professions in particular. In Austria, this sometimes begins as earlier as after primary school due to the highly differentiated education system. There are clear gender differences in the choice of subject at intermediate and higher vocational secondary schools. Only 27.5% of students at technical and commercial schools, including the schools of design, are female. Female students predominate in all other areas. The only exception here are agricultural and forestry schools, which have a balanced gender ratio. On the other side, studies are very popular in Austria. 38% of all university students study STEM subjects, with 2/3 of them studying engineering and technical subjects. At this point, it also becomes clear that the STEM field must be viewed differently with regard to the proportion of women. While women now make up around 60% of students in the natural sciences as well as in other fields of study overall, they account for less than 30% of students in engineering and less than 20% in mechanical engineering and electrical engineering. If you have a look on the apprenticeship qualifications, there are also significant gender differences. While the proportion of women in wholesale and retail trade is higher than that of men, 63% compared to 37%, only 7.5% of graduates in construction and civil engineering are female. In general, girls tend to concentrate on a few training fields, while this phenomenon is less pronounced among the boys. At universities, of degrees by subject area and gender is very similar to that what we have seen of the student numbers. The subject area with the most degrees is engineering, but engineering degrees are mainly obtained by men. On the other hand, 58,000 additional new jobs will be created in Austria in the STEM sector by 2029. Particular demand is expected in the fields of computer science, materials, engineering, electrical engineering, as well as tool making. Since all stakeholders are aware of this challenge, and given the key role of women in addressing it, Austria has forged a strong alliance between policymakers and stakeholder organizations to drive improvement. 8 strategic levers have been identified and incorporated into the federal government's STEM action plan as priority fields of action. While the action plan is not directly exclusively at girls and women, every initiative within this places particular emphasis on supporting them. Regions stakeholders such as educational institutions, research institutions, companies, and providers of STEM programs work together to develop concepts that ensure a consistent and continuous STEM offering from kindergarten to career choice. There are now 28 such networks across Austria. Another important aspect is the provision of information. We have many programs. If you have a look to Vienna, there are more than 300 programs to assist or support the awareness for STEM subjects. And the most problem is to find the right information for the parents and also for the children. Therefore, under the DN Austria label, a platform is being set up for all STEM offerings. Initiatives are at federal, state, and regional level. The job profiles in our minds are often outdated. That is why it's particularly important to present and advertise STEM jobs in an attractive and contemporary way. STEM educational pathways and job profiles are promoted through peers, mentors, role models, apps, and influencers. Another point is the better support for talented students in their STEM educational paths. This should also be achieved through close coordination of STEM teaching content in secondary school levels 1 and 2. Teaching STEM subjects in an inspiring way requires highly trained teachers. This also necessitates a revision of curricula and study programs, both in teacher training and for pupils. New subjects have to be introduced. This include basic digital literacy as a compulsory subject in lower secondary education. 3 years ago, a STEM school pilot project has been launched in more than 50 intermediate schools throughout Austria. At these schools, children receive additional lessons in the interdisciplinary subject of STEM. The school pilot project is being scientifically monitored and is intended to be continued. Awareness of STEM subjects is also to be increased through new teaching formats. Researchers visit classrooms as ambassadors and create sustainable STEM experiences. Starting in kindergarten, a wide range of materials are provided to spark curiosity. A training offensive is intended to counteract the shortage of skilled workers. Interdisciplinary STEM courses are being expanded at universities and technical colleges. 3 years ago, Austria founded a new interdisciplinary university for digitalization and digital transformation, which promotes the shaping of digital chains for the benefit of all. Another important point is reskilling and upskilling. Such programs make it easier for wide sections of the population, including the adults, to obtain STEM degrees. And last but not least, everyone can do STEM. This line of action directly addresses girls and women. It focuses on 3 objectives: gender-neutral education and career guidance programs, gender competence of teachers, and STEM content at schools dominated by girls, including inclusive admission procedures. All these measures serve to interest women in STEM professions and to convey to them the opportunities that these professions offer. But that alone is not enough. We must also succeed in retaining women in the STEM sector in a sustainable way. In my experience, this requires working on 3 strategic pillars that will bring about sustainable change in the culture within the organization. We have heard about it by Takiko. The first pillar involves continuously working to eliminate the underrepresentation of women. Until this is overcome, it will be nearly impossible to break through some social norms and male-dominated organizational cultures. Gender monitoring, for example, is an effective tool for critical internal reflection. The continuous monitoring of the proportion of women and men at individual qualification levels, and of course the monitoring of the development, as well as issues such as gender pay gap and gender care gap, are addressed to increase awareness of structural changes in conditions for women. The second pillar, fix the institution, aims to bring about structural change in organizations and society towards greater gender equality. This involves measures to break down systematic barriers for women. Change conditions for all genders can help relieve the pressure on women to change, improve, and achieve even more to survive in the system. This is a lengthy process that must begin at the strategic level and affect the organization. It requires the necessary strategy papers as well as appropriate measures for operationalization. Specific networks that promote mutual support also play an important role in this context. Many behaviors occur unconsciously, which is why the third pillar, fix the knowledge, is particularly important. Increasing gender competence in an organization and increasing awareness of relevant issues helps to ensure that all employees contribute to gender equality through their behavior. As you can see, there is much to be done. Also, the framework conditions in Austria appear to be favorable. We are only making slow progress. Quotas support this process. For example, there has been a quota for women in the public sector since 1993, and for listed companies and large enterprises for around 7 years. To cite just one example, in listed companies subject to quotas, the proportion of women in January 2025 will be 38%, compared with only around 21% in the non-quota sector. The quota addresses the boards of the listed companies. As you can see, many areas need to be addressed in order to change the situation. And it will take a lot of patience, the right incentive systems, healthy competition, a clear strategy, and courageous steps to implement it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Seidler. I don't know if I read your presentation, even though I haven't seen it before, or you read my notes, because apparently you lined the entire panel discussion with the topics. You dropped one keyword after the other. Thank you so much, and that's the perfect entrance to the next step, to the handover. So now we go into the panel discussions. We have 3 panelists here on the ground, plus 2 online. So may I ask now once again Ms. Tokiko Shimizu on the stage, as well Tomoko Hayashi and Ms. Sophie Gerber. And online we have as well Ms. Maren Wölfel, and I introduce those 3 new persons to you in a minute. So, Ms. Tomoko Hayashi, she's an accomplished economist and a former chief economist of the government of Japan, where she led the Economic Research Bureau and advised the Prime Minister on Japan's economic outlook and global risks. And you served as well as a Director General of the Gender Equality Bureau. And there you were part or instigated introducing key reforms such as a mandatory gender pay gap disclosure and much more. Thank you for joining us. With us as well Ms. Sophie Gerber. She arrived yesterday from Vienna. She's a historian of technology and has been working at the Technical Museum in Vienna since 2019. There she manages the domestic technology and food collections, and additionally, I think that's what brought her here in the first place, she develops strategies for diversity-oriented, gender-informed collecting, exhibiting, education, and as well exhibitions for young people and obviously as well adults to get there. And we have one more participant online. It's Ms. Maren Wölfel. She's a business coach, a trainer of executives with leadership workshops in Europe, and she's an international speaker, an out-of-the-box thinker, and she is as well very much engaged in everything which has to do with encouraging women, and she works with a lot of women, and she will bring a lot of the business aspect into today's agenda. And amongst the many hats she's wearing, one is as well, she has an organization called Female Wake Up Call, so to get women more into, let's say, any field they want to work with. So 5 panelists. I will start with giving one question to each of them according to their field experience or their subject they want to bring into discussion. Then we take it from their discussion and we open it as well to the floor. So may I start with you, Tomoko Hayashi, and that's what I meant when I was listening to the presentation of Professor Seidler. You said as well, you could share with us a bit what the thinking about which role the government and governmental policies can or should play promoting gender equality in STEM and I guess further.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me here today. And before starting to respond to your question, it's a really great pleasure for me to be here because I am the person who decided to support this women's pavilion as Director General of Gender Equality. So I remember the day when the people of Cartier came to my office in the government and explained their plan. And I was so excited that I decided to support this project immediately. And I introduced my minister and my colleagues in charge of Expo on my side. So I'm so excited.
I shouldn't have known this. I do apologize.
Well, so responding to the question from Christina, we need a diagnosis and prescription. And my diagnosis is we have observed a kind of vicious cycle regarding the gender gap in STEM fields, gender bias in education, discourages girls and women from studying STEM fields. And gender bias in education discourages these people, and which in turn leads to fewer women working in STEM-related areas. This results in a lack of role models for girls who are interested in mathematics and science, further discourage them from pursuing STEM. So in addition, the gender pay gap has made some parents hesitant to invest in girls' education, which contributes to the continued underrepresentation of women in STEM field. So the prescription is breaking this kind of vicious cycle. So it is essential to eliminate gender bias in education, and increase the visibility of role models, female role models in STEM fields, and ensure equal pay and equal career opportunities for women in the workplace. And the government can contribute to tackling these issues. I will focus on the workplace due to the limited time frame. So this year is really important year. 2025 is the 40th anniversary of Gender Equality Employment Opportunity Act in Japan. So the law was passed by the National Diet in 1985 and came into effect in 1986. It prohibits discrimination based on gender in all aspects of the workplace, including recruitment and promotion. But we still have a significant gender gap in many aspects of the workplace. This gap is essentially evident in STEM fields where women remain underrepresented. Legal institutions and laws are not enough to achieve true gender equality. We must also address mindset, culture, and workplace practices that continue to reinforce gender disparities. These aspects are just as important as legislation in creating a gender equal workplace. I'd like to highlight two key topics, the gender pay gap and work-life balance, which the government supported. In Japan, the median wage for female workers is about 78% of that of male workers, according to OECD statistics. That means women earn 22% less than men. Although the gap has narrowed compared with the past, it still remains significant and much higher than the OECD average of 12%. To address this issue, the government of Japan introduced a mandatory disclosure of gender pay gaps in companies, each company. In 2022, when I was Director General of Gender Equality Bureau, 3 years have passed, and now it is important to carefully examine the impact of this mandatory disclosure on each firm's situation. And there has been progress in work-life balance. For example, last year, the percentage of men taking parental leave exceeded 40%. This is a dramatic increase compared with the figures from 5 years ago, 7% then, and only 2% 10 years ago. At that time, it was extremely rare for men to take parental leave, but now the rate has risen to 40%. This dramatic increase reflects a significant shift of attitudes in Japanese society toward gender roles and work-life balance. Of course, I don't think the challenges are over yet. Having said that, we have a news, currently the Japanese economy is facing a considerable labor shortage. To attract more workers, including women, companies needed to improve their working conditions and address the gender pay gap. I believe market forces are driving this trend forward, and the government policies have supported and will continue to support this movement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gerber, I think that leads as well perfectly to one of your topics, and you said you had a look at how the development of girls, women in STEM, and you could give us there some insights, right?
I hope so, yes.
Yes.
First of all, I also want to thank you for the invitation here to Osaka. It's really a pleasure to be here, especially in the Women's Pavilion, because little do you know that I've curated an exhibition on the very first Women's Pavilion, as was mentioned, in Vienna in 1873. And yeah, there was a Women's Pavilion on every world exhibition so far as I know. And yeah, so it's a real pleasure, thank you. And thank you very much also for the contributions so far. Yes, I second everything of the things you've already said, but you've mentioned that girls seem to be not confident enough to enter the STEM field. And I think we have to ask, why is that? Yeah? And why are stereotypes, traditional gender roles, notions of technology, science, and masculinity, why are they so persistent? And yeah, where do they come from? And I think the good news is that they are not static because they are historically constructed, yeah, but unfortunately reinforced through the media, of course, education. These are areas where we can tackle those very persistent notions. And when we have a look into history, we see that the development of technical professions already was linked to male-coded, so to say, male-coded ideals such as mechanical skill, rationality, objectivity, ingenuity. Yeah, we all have this picture in mind of the male genius and the history of technology. And also technical education was institutionalized along with the exclusion of women. This is where a lot of the problems we have nowadays stem from, I think. They were formally excluded, of course, through access restrictions. I think it was similar in Japan as it was in Austria. I just read today that the first woman at Tokyo Tech was enrolled in 1931, I think. Yeah, this would be a good role model, for example, for girls nowadays. Yeah, but also informal restrictions were and are active through cultural notions of technology and gender. And even when legal barriers were removed, those symbolic and cultural notions were and are very persistent. And the symbolic exclusion remained, and we still have this image in mind of the male engineer, the male ingenious, as I've already mentioned. So this shapes how girls envision their future. This shapes how companies are hiring, of course. And this is what we call unconscious bias. Yeah? Unconscious bias is a very powerful and persistent force shaping who enters the STEM field, who stays there, and who thrives in the STEM field, I think. So, yeah, maybe this is also a good point to think about gender and technology further. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I want to share something. I was in a Lego shop the other day, actually on the weekend. I know you were wondering what is the woman talking about. And there I found a brick set, and it's called The Evolution of STEM. So for kids to make out of Lego bricks evolution of STEM, and I looked at it. I almost wanted to buy a package and started building it here. But for me, the most interesting thing is, yes, you build, they say you can build the latest first computer and other things, and there are three Lego figurines in it as well. And I thought, oh, there's a woman. So actually the three persons they put in there is one, obviously I thought, it's Marie Curie, the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes, and then the other 2 were Sir Isaac Newton and George Washington Carver. I've never heard of him before. But the thing is, you go into a Lego shop where, yes, you see Super Mario, you see Star Wars, and then you see the evolution of STEM, and even there is one female personality. And that gave me a lot of confidence. So there are many things happening to support kids and children in that field. Now I'm wondering, yes, we have our third person from Austria online, Ms. Marienwölfe, and she, when we spoke in the preparation, she can give an insight, how is the situation for women on the ground, in businesses, in organizations, because she's working with a lot of persons, women, companies, and and one important topic there is as well the question about family and career and childcare. So maybe you want to share your thoughts on this that match our discussion so far.
Thanks a lot, and of course I'm more than pleased and honored to bring in my expertise here. So I guess there's lots to do. I'm a solution seeker, I would call myself. So I guess from a female and company perspective, there is lots of things everybody can contribute. So if you go out of this meeting, I hope you will make an impactful contribution to change, and as well as corporations can do. So from a company perspective, it's all about new processes in place. So have a good look at how you're recruiting people. And for example, if a company tells me, well, we're not finding enough women, I keep telling them, how do you look for them? Where do you look for them? How do you write your exposés? What kind of skills you require? This is already a change every company can do, for example. Or I do also workshops for managers, for top management. What is their personal contribution impact? What are they doing, really doing, to promote women? What kind of unconscious bias they have in their own heads? So there's lots to do from a company perspective. And I think, by the way, there's one similarity between Japan and Austria that I researched. We both have a very high part-time rate of women. So this is a huge topic here in Austria that I'm tackling as well, because I think overall women cannot work more, because, for example, in Austria, on average, women work more than men do. But it's paid and it's unpaid, of course. So women are not able to work more. But 50% of the Austrian women are working part-time, on average about 20 hours. So of course, it's a huge economic potential we have on average, but in total, women are not able to work more. And we haven't talked about mental load. So this is, one topic from a company perspective, and from a more individual perspective. I also grew up, in Austria on the countryside, a very traditional role where I am supposed, as a mother, of course, to take care of children. That's my main responsibility. That's how society perceives me. And from time to time, it's very exhausting to change and to, I would say, swim against the river and not with it. But I want to do it. I want to make a contribution, and I also want to make a contribution in everyday's life. So it's in the small things that happens that everybody can contribute. For example, from time to time, I don't bake the cake myself for a children's birthday. We buy a cake. We and make a contribution. I don't go to the evenings where the parents are supposed to go. My husband goes. So it's these small steps where everybody in private life can be a part of the change. how we're perceived as women, what our expectations are, if we fulfill them or if we don't. And it's kind of, I make fun of myself from time to time if I make a contribution or if I change and look at the faces and, oh my God, what is she doing again? And then, you know, from a business perspective, please, women, just do it. You are amazing. You're great. You have all the possibilities in the world. Yes, it's not easy. There are more barriers for women to get to top management positions than for men. But if we don't do it, who will ever do it? So just like move forward. You are capable, you are able. And that's what the contribution I would like to make.
Thank you very much so far. We get back to you definitely. Now I would, and again, you gave me one word, one keyword, which I would like to now turn to you again, Tokiko Shimizu, because when we spoke about, you said as well, what has to be done to make the STEM work field a better place, or probably more welcoming or supporting one for women to, first of all, you said starting school, university, but then staying there to give their full potential as well for the economy, right? We need it.
Thank you. So as I said in my presentation, that there are two challenges we need to make in the near future. The first one is how we can provide them with the earlier experiences in the STEM area. So as I said, we had one event in August. Around 10 years old girls really enjoyed the experiences in the STEM areas. So that means if they can have such an opportunity in the earlier stage, probably they could have stronger mindset to continue studying in that area. So that is one of the most missing area we can do in the future. And the second one is, I try to avoid touch upon these kind of topics when I conduct some business meeting with the industries. That is the payment. So in Japan, it's not good to discuss about the payment kind of things, but reality is the gender pay gap is mainly coming from the difference of the job description in the job. That means females are mainly working in the area that job description are not so clear. That means their promotion speed and raising payment speed are not rapid enough compared to them, males in that areas. So, but because the job description itself is so vague in that area, they cannot say anything about why my payment in promotion is not good. So because there are less evidence for them to raise the issues. But in the STEM area, like engineers, the job description is clearer than those in that more vague job, like liberal arts kind of things or business-oriented kind of job. So that's why I push female to choose that job for their career development. Because in the engineering area, the job description is clearer than the other areas. That makes it easier for them to make rapid increase in the pay gap, and level of the payment will be higher. So then, the Japanese pay gap is so huge, as she said. But if like 30% of the engineers are coming from female, that makes the gender pay gap will be less by half or something. So because the pay level itself is higher and the promotion speed is more rapid. So this kind of activities to enhance the number of female engineers is one of the most effective tools to getting gender pay gap smaller. Thank you.
And I guess we should all work on that. May I, because you gave me another keyword, may I go back to Ms. Maren Wörfel, because we spoke about, when we prepared, you said as well something, not only in the STEM field, but there must be probably a lot of processes being rethought, redone, as well in companies for recruiting, retaining, development, in order to have more women in STEM and other businesses, engineering, because we cannot have 50% of the workforce not being, let's say, addressed with all those things. And I guess, Maren Wörfel, you looked at this as well, right? How processes should be set up in a different way, not only for women, I guess, for everyone to be better in the workplace.
Yes, I would like to mention a very kind of small best practice example that some companies here in Austria do. For example, offer internships for girls like 16, 17 or 18s during their vacation to work there. And especially in STEM, you know, that's kind of an easy activity they can do. Just like say, okay, we have 5 places here. We give them to girls because we want to be attractive, make them passionate for STEM. So here they are, for example. And then, you know, if I hear from top management from time to time, well, women don't want, you know, they are, we try everything we can, but still, I ask a different question. I think, why is the workplace then less attractive for women? So what can we do from a company perspective to make the workplace attractive for women? And of course, you know, if I say you can only advance to a top management position if you have to work 60 hours or plus, if you have to do like everything to make a career, then it's probably less attractive for lots of women. So to change the perspective completely, actually in Austria right now, and I guess it's similar in Japan because you have similar high part-time rates as in Austria. What about leadership positions in part-time? Is it possible to do a part-time position in leadership? And yes, of course it is. There are tons of best practice examples where it is indeed possible to do it. And I would like to give another example from school, because my son, you know, he goes into IT school, and they told me, like in their school, of course, it's like 2,500 students, and if they have like more than 30 girls in their course, so in a class, in like a level of classes, because I think they have 10 classes in one level, but if there are more than 30 girls, most of the girls advance because they are just like more, and then they support each other. If it's about 20 or 25, a lot of them drop out because they have no one to support each other. So of course, we need to see that there is not the only one, because research also shows that if you're the only one in a team, and it doesn't matter if you're the only Japanese maybe in Austria, or only Austria in Japan, or only man in a playground, but if you're the only woman in a team, it's a very difficult position that especially top management has to be aware.
Thank you very much. So do we have Miss Sabine Seidler as well still online? Yes, because I remember in our presentation you were as well talking something, made a point which I think is very important as the whole discussion goes about girl and women in STEM. So why is it important that we have more women in STEM? What's the impact, and what are we maybe missing out? What does our society miss out? No, apparently, unfortunately, we lost Miss Seidler for the time being, but that's a question. But maybe, no? You can go that direction as well. Yes.
Okay. Maybe I can add something to
Yes.
what Maren Wölfel just said, or even said before about buying the cake, not baking it herself as a mother, and about women in the STEM field. I think there is a double bind I want to point out. Double bind for women navigating the STEM field, because they, on the one hand, have to prove their competence, maybe even more than men have. So there are these expectations, and on the other hand, they have to fulfill cultural expectations and confirm gendered expectations or resist them. This is why I've mentioned the cake, because resisting those expectations is very strenuous as well. And on a corporate level, I think there is a big need to critically reflect if notions of excellence, of productivity, of leadership, maybe, of leadership, if they are bound to or connected to male ideals again. I think we have to ask if this is the case, and maybe with trainings, with awareness campaigns, again, the bias comes in. But I have no proper solution for that. But I think it's very important to think about this double bind women, especially women, or only women, have to face in the corporate world, especially in the STEM sector, because there are also expectations about being available all the time, maybe, or at least more than 40 hours a week.
Thank you. So I've seen and I've given notice. Miss Seidler, we have you online again. Did you hear my question beforehand, where it was about why is it actually so important that we would have, or we need to have more women in STEM for business, for society, for the development of the entire society?
I think it's so important because we need technical solutions that address the whole society. If we have a look on technological developments, most of them are run by men, and they do not consider some special demands that other people of the society need, especially women. You all know the examples of the dummies for cars, for example, and so on. And therefore, we need the women for the technical part, and of course, we need the women for bringing much more diversity in the teams, for the social aspect, for the co-working aspect, and so on and so on.
One question or one topic in our preparation I heard from actually all our expert panelists. So what can we learn from each other? How different are we? I had to be honest that Austria is as well in a lot of aspects, I think, still a very traditional country. Sometimes, so that's not my takeaway, but that's why I want to address the question to our experts. Probably we can more learn by supporting each other, because all the presentations gave me, we are somehow in the same boat, right? It's a lot of culture, tradition, stereotypes, and what would you think, above all, when I saw the explanation of which policies and support systems have been put in place in Austria, and when you talked about the Japanese government, so I would say we have to team up and see there are others, and then be a stronger force, or anything else you can put in there as well, maybe from looking at other countries when you maybe were comparing one's countries which are very different in the female development. Please.
Thank you. Yes, I have seen a lot of similarity, in particular in education and cultural things. And let me raise 2 points of education and gender gap in education. And the first one is dream gap of boys and girls. And when the elementary school girls are asked about their future dream job in Japan, the most popular answer of girls, imagine, pâtissier, followed by office workers and manga artists and nurses. And asking boys, they include some, say, IT-related jobs like, for example, game creator and ICT programmers and these kind of things. But on the girls' list, it's obviously say that the ICT jobs and scientific jobs are absent from the girls' list of dream job. So there's a great dream gap between boys and girls. So what Tokiko-san is doing is really helpful because girls can learn what kind of jobs are available in their future. That's one thing. And the second thing, I believe it is important to say, to have well-trained teachers. What I mean is there are some conscious or unconscious bias in education among teachers. So the government actually started to provide some training program for teachers in elementary school and junior high school, but it is still in progress. So this kind of effort for eliminating gender gap in education from early stage is critically important to narrow the gender gap. Perhaps it is common between us.
Unfortunately, I think it is. Yes.
Maybe I can add to that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, role models. Role models are very important, I think. And I went to Science Museum Osaka yesterday, and I didn't find a woman represented. Okay, I'm not the only one with that impression. Yes, so representation really matters, and we have to diversify role models. We have to show that women always made a contribution to science and technology, but their histories weren't written. Of course, we know Marie Curie, but there are loads and loads of women whose histories were not written. This was very striking when we were making this exhibition on the Women's Pavilion in Vienna in 1873, because the sources were missing. There were no photos of the inside of the pavilion, for example, of the cases. There were a lot of products on exhibit which were made by women in factories and manufacturers, but none of the photos are in archives. They are lost, and this is a big point for me as a historian, especially that the sources are missing, and the history of women in technology and science, they are not written, they are not represented, and we have to undo this in some way and make them visible. Find role models, not only historical ones but also contemporary ones. I think we have at least 2 of them here with us today, and show that technology is for everyone, not only for boys, and challenge the narrative. So this is very important, especially in education, of course, coming from an educational institution as well. I know that, and we also try to tackle this in our education and exhibition programs, of course, but still there are more boys than girls visiting the Vienna Museum of Technology as well. So yeah, it's a long road, I guess.
And may I ask something as well? I think you were talking about education, teachers. Probably we have to go even one step back. So what about families? So are boys and girls at home, do they get the same support? Do they get the same toys? Are they encouraged? Depending, I have only one sister, so no brother, so we were always treated the same, so we didn't see any difference between boys in school than girls. But then if you sometimes you saw families who had, there was a brother and a sister, and there you saw sometimes they were treated differently. I guess should it maybe start there already?
So in the event last month, we invited the parents of the girls as well. So the 70 girls and almost same number of the parents coming, and they are very interested in their children show such in very enthusiastic interest in the STEM areas experiences. So parents themselves are so surprised. So our children, our girls, show such interest in those areas. That means the children or girls themselves already show those interests every day, but probably the parents couldn't find it. So because there's something bias in the mind, and probably they have the boys and girls, and the boy probably are interested in those areas, the girls were interested in those areas. So that kind of mindset, we try to break down through those projects. And I myself found that there are many parents try to support their children's future brighter. So that means they themselves cannot find some confidence to let their children get into the STEM area because they are not confident enough. So then I try to address to the parents as well, not only the girls themselves, but also the parents as well. So that kind of activity must be necessary.
Thank you. So if I now may ask our 5 panelists, do you have some advice? I mean, we heard now a lot, encourage kids, encourage them at home, at school, role models. But if you allow, nowadays we always have to bring a call to action, right? Call for action. What would, from your experience, or what should we, when we leave this beautiful pavilion today, and hopefully a lot of you join us then as well at the Austrian pavilion, what should we take with us? I know we would need to talk days, but something short and crisp. Maybe you want to start, please?
Yes. Find a network, find a mentor. Together, things are easier, of course, and stay curious, especially for the girls. Stay curious and don't let anyone tell you that technology is not for you.
Perfect. What about you?
Yes, I have 2 messages. One is to mothers, because mothers' attitude has great impact on girls' attitude, according to our survey. And the workplace in Japan, the society in Japan, is now drastically changing. So the workplace in Japan is very different from that of mothers' generation. So please, to mothers, please encourage your girls, your daughters, to take their choice. And to girls, yes, your life is only one. And you live just once in this world. So please don't care about what others say and pursue your own way.
Thank you. Tokiko, you have something, yes.
So thank you. I'd like to repeat what I said in the very last part of my presentation, that it is a theory that if the minority becomes stronger, that implies the majority becomes less powerful. So it is the problem for the society. So we need to pay both attention to not only minority or females or girls, but also pay attention to the majority in the society itself. That means I'm always attending the black meeting filled with senior established men. So I always repeatedly said to them that we need to have change. That means you should be less powerful. So it is very important message to them. So if they cannot accept that kind of image, our activity couldn't make any change in the future. That means I, of course, support the girls' activities and minorities' empowerment, but that isn't enough. That is not enough to achieve our target. So we need to collaborate with the majority people. So I'm a little bit sorry that only few men here. I'd like to see or have half of the men here in the future. Thank you very much.
The next event, we make sure that we have more male participants as well. Ms. Seidler, what would you give us as a takeaway call to action from this discussion? I think maybe you're muted, your mic, could it be?
Sorry, yes, I was muted. I can underline what Tokiko said, because we cannot change our society without the men. I think this is very important, but we have to work on this change, and that means that we have to work on the problems we address, on the underrepresentation. We had to work on the structural change in our organizations, and we have to do all what we can to bring women in visible roles. And that means at every age. Role models are very important, but they don't work, for example, when women like me go to a kindergarten. This cannot work. We need students, pupils that go into the kindergarten and so on. And a second part, you discussed about the role of parents. One big problem in Austria is that we only address a small group of people. And this group is very active. They bring their children to all the events that are happened. But we have also to find ways to address people that are not so familiar with education and the system and so on. I think this is also an important point. And the last point I want to mention is in German, technology is a female word. And we have to underline this much more than we are doing this up to now. Thank you.
Thank you. And Maren Wölfel, what would you give us as a goodie bag advice when we leave today here in the room?
I'm a great fan of my own circle of influence. So I think our impact is much bigger than we think it is. So if from a private perspective, everyone goes home and talks maybe differently to their boys, to their girls, to their nieces and nephews, to small children, and don't say to a girl, I don't know, oh, you're beautiful, and to the son, oh, you're strong, or to the boy, but change the narrative we give to the children. So this is a starting point, like everybody, every one of us can do to change the narrative and be aware of the gender stereotype roles that we already at a certain age give our children. So this is a very private perspective. And from a business perspective, I think it's a decision to support women. And it's a really very conscious decision. And we don't have to agree all the time about another woman, I don't know, how she dresses, how she shows up, what kind of beliefs she has. But it's a conscious decision to support each other. And, for example, not contribute to negative talks and about women and not about judgmental talks. But say it differently, says, yes, I know what you're talking about, but I see it completely different. She's very capable. It's maybe a very difficult position to her to be the only one. So don't contribute to the negative talk about women.
Thank you. And even though I'm the moderator, I want to give as well one advice, which from personal work experience, we were talking about role models, how we can show the upcoming generation what to do. But I as well always ask women who have reached a certain position in whatever field, might it STEM, medicine, law, if you hear something or see something that anyone in your business environment makes comments which you think that's not okay anymore, you cannot talk like this, speak it out. Yes, we might then sometimes get a negative feedback from colleagues or friends even, but if everyone just accepts what's being said, even if you're against it and think that's not fair towards your female colleagues or the young generation, be strong enough and say what you think, because only then we can change together organizations, even as somebody who's part of it. I think that's as well something we should all try. And again, no matter if it's female or male, if there's a male colleague who thinks, oh, there's comments, or why did the female colleague not get the promotion or whatever, they speak out as well, hopefully, because that's the last thing. Yes, we talk about women in STEM, we have women networks, we have role models, but we are inclusive. We don't say we don't accept men or others, members of society in our group. I think that's as well something very important for all of us. So thank you so much for our two experts taking part from Austria virtually. Maybe in some time we find an opportunity to have once again together an event in Japan where you can be as well physically present. Thank you so much for taking the time, for being so early online with us. Thank you. So, yes, that's now already the end of our panel discussion. I hope you liked it. Unfortunately, we did not take questions and answers from the audience, but as I said, our our event does not finish here. We're gonna invite all the audience, the participants here on the ground to join us in the Austrian pavilion, where at 5:30 there will be a small reception. You can enjoy Austrian food, Austrian wine, and hopefully a lot of discussions with like-minded people about the topic we spoke today. And as well, yes, have a controversial discussion. Not everyone has to agree. We want to exchange opinions. So thanks again for your participation, and above all for our experts who joined us today here on the ground. Tokiko Shimizu, Tomoko Hayashi, and Ms. Gerber, and obviously Ms. Seidler and Ms. Wölfel online. And thank you for all the participants who joined the online streaming from Austria, and I saw as well from other countries. Thanks for supporting us, and as I mentioned, there's a recording of this hybrid panel discussion. We will put it online in a few days, and everyone who registered will get the link. Thank you so much. And if somebody's interested in Austrian, Asian business relations, this is the QR code to the last event Austrian Chamber of Commerce is doing during the expo. It's a big event in Tokyo on October 2nd. Austrian Strategic Business Summit, Indo-Pacific in Tokyo. If you're interested and you want to have more business contacts with Austria, probably scan this QR code. A little bit of advertisement. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yes.